The Thanksgiving dinner table went silent when I made the announcement. November 23, 2012. 6:47 p.m. I'm dropping out of college, I said, setting down my fork. My mother's hand froze halfway to her mouth. My father put down his wine glass with a sharp clink. My sister Jennifer stared at me like I'd just announced I was joining a cult. You're what? My father said. Dropping out. I'm leaving Northwestern at the end of the semester. Rachel, my mother said carefully, is this a joke? No joke. I've already submitted the paperwork. But you're a sophomore, Jennifer said. You're halfway through. Why would you? Because I hate it. The words came out more forcefully than I'd intended. I hate my major. I hate my classes. I'm miserable and I'm wasting your money. What you're wasting, my father said, his voice rising, is your future. Do you have any idea how competitive it is to get into Northwestern? How many people would kill for your opportunity? Then they can have it. Rachel, be reasonable, my mother pleaded. Every college student feels overwhelmed sometimes. That doesn't mean you quit. I'm not quitting. I'm choosing a different path. What path? Jennifer demanded. Dropping out to do what? Work at Starbucks? Live in our basement. I'm moving to New York. I have a job lined up as an editorial assistant at a publishing house. An editorial assistant? My father laughed, but there was no humor in it. That's a glorified secretary position. Rachel, you're throwing away a Northwestern degree for an entry-level job that pays maybe $30,000 a year. It's a start. It's a disaster, he interrupted. Your sister graduated from Yale, went to law school, is now working at a top firm in Chicago. That's what success looks like. Not this. Jennifer leaned back in her chair, arms crossed. I worked my ass off to build a career. I did everything right. And you're just going to throw away your education because you're miserable? That's pathetic. Jennifer, my mother said weakly. No, Mom. Someone needs to say it. Rachel has always taken the easy way out. High school was too hard, so she went to community college first. Now university is too hard, so she's dropping out. When are you going to grow up and finish something? I did finish community college. With a 3.2 GPA, she said. Barely. And you only got into Northwestern because you wrote some sob story essay about being a late bloomer. That stung because it was partially true. My path hadn't been traditional. I'd struggled in high school, gone to community college, then transferred to Northwestern. I'd been proud of that journey. My family had been tolerant of it. This is a mistake, my father said firmly. A huge mistake. And I won't support it financially. I'm not asking you to. Good. Because you'll get nothing from us. No money for rent, no money for food, nothing. You want to make adult decisions? Fine. Face adult consequences. Harold, my mother said, that seems harsh. She needs to learn, Patricia. She can't just drift through life expecting us to catch her every time she fails. I'm not failing, I said, my voice shaking. I'm making a choice. A bad choice, Jennifer said. You're 20 years old with no degree, no real skills, moving to one of the most expensive cities in the world for a job that probably pays minimum wage. You know what we call that? Failure. I stood up from the table. I should go. Rachel, wait, my mother started. I didn't wait. I grabbed my coat and walked out into the cold Chicago night. I moved to New York 3 weeks later with $1,800 in savings and a suitcase full of clothes. The publishing job was exactly as bad as my father had predicted. Editorial assistant at Hartley & Sons Publishing, a small, prestigious house specializing in literary fiction. I made $28,000 a year, worked 60-hour weeks, and my primary responsibilities were filing coffee runs and reading slush pile manuscripts that would never get published. My apartment in Brooklyn was 280 square feet. The shower was in the kitchen. I could hear my neighbors' every conversation through the paper-thin walls. I ate ramen noodles for dinner 4 nights a week. My family barely spoke to me. My mother called once a month with updates I didn't ask for. Jennifer got engaged. Jennifer made partner track. Jennifer bought a condo. Your sister's doing so well, my mother would say. We're so proud of her. The implication was clear. Unlike you. Jennifer called exactly once in those first 6 months. I heard you're living in some shoebox in Brooklyn, she said. Mom's worried about you. I'm fine. Are you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you made a huge mistake and you're too proud to admit it. I'm happy, Jennifer. You're 20 years old making less than minimum wage when you calculate your hours. That's not happiness. That's delusion. She paused. Look, it's not too late. You could re-enroll. Go back to school. Get your degree. Stop embarrassing the family. Embarrassing the family? Yes, Rachel. Embarrassing us. Do you know what I tell people when they ask about you? I have to say my sister dropped out of college to work in publishing. Do you know how that sounds? Like I'm following my passion? Like you're a failure. Like our family couldn't produce two successful children. She hung up before I could respond. That was the last real conversation we had for 12 years. But I wasn't failing. Not really. The publishing job was brutal, but I was learning. How books were acquired, edited, marketed. How the industry worked. I read manuscripts until my eyes hurt, learning what made good writing, what made compelling stories. After 2 years, I was promoted to assistant editor. After 4 years, associate editor. After 6 years, senior editor. I developed a reputation for discovering new talent. 3 of my authors won major literary awards. 2 hit the New York Times bestseller list. But more importantly, I'd found my real passion, helping young writers develop their craft. I started teaching a writing workshop at NYU. Just one class, adjunct for extra money. But I loved it. Loved working with students, helping them find their voices, watching them improve. One of my students, a professor in the English department, noticed. You're a natural teacher, she said. Have you ever thought about higher education as a career? I don't have a degree. You should get one. Not for the paper but for the opportunities. With your experience and your talent, you could do real things in academia. That conversation planted a seed. At 26, I enrolled in Columbia's MFA program in creative writing. I worked full-time, attended classes at night, wrote my thesis in stolen hours on the subway. It was the hardest 2 years of my life. I graduated at 28 with my MFA and a job offer from Columbia to teach undergraduate creative writing courses. At 30, I was promoted to assistant professor. At 31, I published my first book, a collection of essays about the publishing industry that became a surprise bestseller in academic circles. At 32, I became associate professor and was asked to join Columbia's undergraduate admissions committee. That's where everything changed. Reading college applications, I realized I had a gift for seeing potential. Not just in grades and test scores, but in the stories students told. In the struggles they'd overcome. In the unique perspectives they brought. I could see the students who would thrive at Columbia. The ones who'd contribute something meaningful. The ones who just needed someone to believe in them. Like me all those years ago. When Yale reached out about their dean of admissions position, I almost didn't apply. You should do it, my department chair said. You're made for this. And Yale is, well, it's Yale. I applied. 6 interviews later, they offered me the position. Dean of Undergraduate Admissions at Yale University. At 32 years old, I was one of the youngest deans in the Ivy League. The irony wasn't lost on me. The college dropout was now deciding who got into one of the world's most prestigious universities. I moved to New Haven in August 2024. My mother called to congratulate me, the first time she'd called in 3 years. Dean at Yale, she said. That's wonderful, Rachel. Your father will be so proud. Will he? Silence. He's trying. He asks about you. Does Jennifer? More silence. Your sister's very busy. She has Amanda now, you know. She's 16. Such a bright girl. My niece. I'd seen her exactly 3 times. Once as a baby, once at age 5, once at age 10. Jennifer had made it clear I wasn't welcome in her daughter's life. I'm sure she is, I said. Maybe now that you're doing well you could reconnect? With Jennifer? With all of us. Maybe, I said, knowing I wouldn't. The application reading season started in November. We received 52,000 applications for 1,550 spots. Every application got read by at least 2 admissions officers. As dean, I personally reviewed thousands of them, including all the borderline cases and special circumstances. It was grueling work. Reading applications from brilliant students who'd overcome incredible odds. Students who'd started nonprofits, conducted research, won international competitions. Students who'd survived poverty, violence, loss. Most of them we'd have to reject. That was the hardest part. I was in my office on a Friday evening in January 2025, reviewing a stack of applications from the Chicago area. My eyes were tired. I was on my fourth coffee of the day. Then I saw the name. Amanda Chin. My sister's married name was Chin. Her husband David Chin, the corporate lawyer she'd married 11 years ago. My hands started shaking. I opened the application. Amanda Chin. Age 17. Northbrook High School, Northbrook, Illinois. GPA, 4.0 unweighted. SAT 1570. Valedictorian. National Merit Finalist. Captain of debate team. Volunteer at local literacy nonprofit. Impressive. Very impressive. She'd applied as a prospective English major. Wanted to be a writer. I scrolled to her personal essay. The prompt. Reflect on a time when you faced a challenge or obstacle. What did you learn from the experience? I started reading. My family doesn't talk about my Aunt Rachel. I grew up hearing whispers. How she dropped out of college, how she threw away her opportunities, how she became the family embarrassment. My mother would shake her head whenever someone asked about her sister. Rachel made her choices, she'd say. Bad choices. For years I thought my aunt was a cautionary tale. A warning about what happens when you quit, when you don't follow through, when you disappoint your family. My mother used her as an example whenever I complained about school. Do you want to end up like Rachel? She'd ask. Working some dead-end job because you couldn't finish what you started? The lesson was clear. Rachel was a failure. Our family's black sheep. The one we'd overcome. Then when I was 16 I Googled her. I stopped reading. Closed my eyes. This was my niece's college essay. About me. About how I was the family failure. I should recuse myself. Pass this application to another admissions officer. That would be the ethical thing to do. That I kept reading. I expected to find nothing, or worse, confirmation of the family narrative. Some sad Facebook profile, maybe a LinkedIn showing a series of unremarkable jobs. What I found instead shocked me. Dr. Rachel Chin. MFA from Columbia. Published author. Professor. And now, Dean of Undergraduate Admissions at Yale University. My failure, Aunt was the Dean of Admissions at Yale. I sat in my bedroom staring at her faculty photo, my entire worldview cracking. Everything my mother had told me was wrong. Rachel hadn't failed. She'd succeeded spectacularly. I started researching further. I found her book, Against the Grain, Alternative Paths in Publishing and Academia. I read every interview she'd given. I learned about her path: community college, Northwestern dropout, publishing industry, MFA, professorship, Yale. It wasn't a traditional path, but it was a successful one. That discovery changed everything for me. I'd spent my whole life following the right path. Perfect grades, perfect test scores, perfect extracurriculars. I'd done everything exactly as expected because I was terrified of becoming like Rachel. But Rachel wasn't a failure. She was someone who'd had the courage to choose her own path despite everyone telling her she was wrong. Someone who'd built success on her own terms. I was crying now. Tears running down my face, dripping onto the application pages. This essay isn't about overcoming an obstacle. It's about discovering that what I thought was an obstacle, my family's shame, our black sheep, was actually an inspiration. My Aunt Rachel taught me that success isn't about following someone else's blueprint. It's about having the courage to write your own story, even when the people who are supposed to support you tell you you're making a mistake. I want to study creative writing at Yale. I want to learn from professors who think differently, who value unconventional paths, who understand that sometimes the most important thing you can do is refuse to quit being yourself. My family overcame nothing. They simply failed to see that Rachel was succeeding in ways they couldn't understand. I don't want to make that same mistake. I want to have the courage to pursue my passions, even if they don't fit someone else's definition of success. I want to be like my Aunt Rachel, the failure who became a dean. I set down the application and put my head in my hands. For 12 years I'd built a life without my family. I'd convinced myself I didn't need their approval, their recognition, their love. And here was my niece who I barely knew writing about me like I was her hero, calling me an inspiration, defending me to an admissions committee that I was on. The irony was almost too much. I picked up my red pen, the one I used for notes and comments on applications. Then I set it back down. I couldn't be objective about this. Not even close. I called my assistant dean Marcus Washington. I need you to read an application. Family conflict of interest. He came to my office. I handed him Amanda's file. Don't look at my notes, I said. Give me your honest assessment. He read through everything. The transcripts, the test scores, the recommendations, the essay. Strong applicant, he said. Really strong. The essay is exceptional. Personal, insightful, shows real growth and self-awareness. He paused. The family conflict, is this about you? Yes. The aunt who's now the dean? That's me. He whistled low. That's heavy. What would you decide? If this was your call? I'd admit her, he said without hesitation. She's qualified on paper. But more than that, this essay shows exactly the kind of student we want. Someone who questions assumptions, who values different paths to success, who can articulate complex family dynamics with empathy. He handed the file back to me. But you can't be the one to decide. You know that. I know. Do you want me to take it to committee? I thought about that. Thought about Amanda sitting in a classroom waiting to hear from Yale. Thought about Jennifer, probably bragging to everyone that her daughter applied to Yale, never mentioning that the dean of admissions was her estranged sister. Thought about my father who told me I was throwing my life away. Thought about myself at 20, crying in that tiny Brooklyn apartment, wondering if I'd made a terrible mistake. Yes, I said. Take it to committee. But Marcus. Yeah. Don't tell them about the family connection. Let them evaluate her on merit. Then we'll deal with the conflict afterward. 2 weeks later, the admissions committee met to discuss borderline cases. Amanda's application was flagged for discussion. Strong candidate, but we had limited spots. I recused myself from the room when they discussed her. Marcus found me in my office an hour later. She's in, he said. Unanimous vote. Everyone loved the essay. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Good. What do you want to do about the family situation? That was the question. Yale sent acceptance letters on March 28th. Amanda would get hers with 1,549 other students. I could stay silent. Let her find out like everyone else. Never acknowledge the connection. Or I could reach out. I sat in my office that night, staring at Amanda's application. At her essay. At the words she'd written about me. I want to be like my Aunt Rachel. At 9:47 p.m. I did something I hadn't done in 12 years. Called my sister. She answered on the fourth ring. Hello. Jennifer. It's Rachel. Silence. Then, Rachel? Is something wrong? No. Nothing's wrong. I need to talk to you about Amanda. Amanda? What about her? Her voice went sharp with protective worry. Did something happen? She applied to Yale. She did. She applied to 9 schools actually. We're very proud. She stopped. Wait. You're at Yale now. I'd forgotten. I'm the dean of admissions. More silence. Oh my God, she breathed. Amanda's application, you saw it? I saw it. Rachel, I swear I didn't know. We didn't apply to Yale because of you. Amanda wanted to go there because of the English program. She didn't even know you worked there until after she'd applied. I never thought. Jennifer, I interrupted. Have you read her essay? What? Oh. She wouldn't let anyone read it. She said it was personal. You should read it. Why? What did she write about? Me. Silence. She wrote about me being the family failure, I continued. About how you used me as a cautionary tale. About how she Googled me and discovered I wasn't actually a failure. Rachel, I'm not calling to fight. I'm calling because Amanda got in. What? She was accepted to Yale. Unanimous vote from the admissions committee. She's an exceptional candidate. I could hear Jennifer crying on the other end of the line. She got into Yale, she whispered. Oh my God. Rachel, thank you. Don't thank me. I recused myself from the decision. She got in on merit. But there's something you need to know. What? Your daughter thinks I'm an inspiration. She wrote a beautiful essay about having the courage to follow her own path. About not being afraid to be different. I paused. Jennifer, for 12 years you've told her I was a failure. And despite that, or maybe because of it, she's learned one of the most important lessons anyone can learn. That success looks different for everyone. I was wrong. Jennifer said, her voice breaking. Rachel, I was so wrong. About everything. About you dropping out, about your choices, about... She stopped. I was jealous. What? I was jealous. You had the courage to walk away from something that wasn't working. To choose your own path. I've spent my entire life doing what everyone expected. Getting the grades, getting the degree, getting the job, getting married, having the baby. And I'm miserable. I'd never heard my sister talk like this. I'm a partner at a law firm I hate, she continued. I work 80 hours a week on cases I don't care about. My marriage is barely surviving. And my daughter barely knows me because I'm never home. She laughed bitterly. You were the smart one, Rachel. You figured out what you wanted and you went after it. I just did what I was told. And now my 17-year-old daughter sees you as the role model instead of me. Jennifer. No, it's true. And it should be true. You built something meaningful. You helped students find their paths. You changed your niece's life without even knowing her. Her voice dropped to a whisper. I'm sorry. For everything I said. For calling you a failure. For cutting you out of Amanda's life. You were never the family embarrassment. I was just too blind to see it. I was crying again. Do you think, Jennifer asked hesitantly, do you think maybe Amanda could meet you? Before she makes her college decision? I think it would mean a lot to her. I'd like that. And maybe we could talk? More than this call? Try to rebuild something. Maybe, I said. It'll take time. I know. But Rachel, I'm proud of you. I should have said that 12 years ago. I'm saying it now. I'm proud of you. We talked for another hour. About her marriage, her job, her life. About my work, my path, the choices I'd made. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was a start. 3 weeks later, Amanda visited Yale on an admitted student's day. I'd arranged to meet her for coffee at a cafe near campus. I got there early, nervous in a way I hadn't been since my own college admissions interviews. She walked in at 2 p.m. exactly. Tall, with Jennifer's features but something else in her expression. Something thoughtful. Curious. She saw me and stopped. Aunt Rachel. Amanda. Hi. We sat down with our coffees, the initial awkwardness thick between us. So, she finally said. You read my essay. I did. I'm sorry if it was awkward. I didn't know you were the dean when I wrote it. I needed to write about something that mattered. Don't apologize. It was a beautiful essay. Honest and insightful. She looked down at her coffee. My mom told me what she used to say about you. About you being a failure. She did. Yeah. She cried while she told me. That she was wrong. That she'd been jealous. Amanda looked up at me. Is it true? That you dropped out of Northwestern? It's true. And worked in publishing for almost no money? Also true. And got your MFA while working full-time? True. And now you're a dean at Yale. I smiled. Unfortunately true. She laughed. That's the coolest story I've ever heard. It's not that cool. It was mostly just hard work and stubbornness. No, she said seriously. It's cool because you chose it. You didn't let anyone tell you what success should look like. You figured it out yourself. We talked for 2 hours. About writing, about college, about her fears and ambitions. She wanted to be a writer but was terrified of not being practical. My mom wants me to major in economics, she said. Have a backup plan. What do you want to major in? English. Creative writing. But everyone says that's impractical. I leaned forward. Amanda, do you know why I became dean of admissions? Why? Because I spent my whole life being told I was doing things the wrong way. Dropping out was wrong. Publishing was wrong. Getting my MFA was wrong. And every time someone told me I was wrong, I proved them wrong. I paused. Now I get to help students who might not fit the traditional mold. Students who need someone to see their potential, not just their credentials. Students like you. Students like you, she corrected softly. I smiled. Yeah. Students like me. She chose Yale. Enrolled as an English major with a concentration in creative writing. I didn't teach undergraduates anymore, but I made arrangements to meet with her once a month. Mentorship sessions officially. But really we were getting to know each other. My relationship with Jennifer improved slowly. Phone calls every few weeks. Then every week. She started divorce proceedings that summer. I'd rather be a single mom than stay in a loveless marriage, she told me. She cut back her hours at the firm. Started actually parenting Amanda instead of just providing for her. I'm trying to be better, she said during one call. For Amanda. For me. My parents reached out too. Awkward emails at first, then phone calls. We were wrong, my father said stiffly during our first real conversation in 12 years. About dropping out. About your choices. We should have supported you. Thank you, I said, because what else could I say? Your mother and I would like to visit. See Yale. See what you've built. They came in October. I gave them a tour of campus, showed them my office, introduced them to my colleagues. My father stood in my office looking at my diplomas on the wall. Columbia and my published book on the shelf. Photos from conferences, from speaking engagements. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I called you a failure. I said you'd amount to nothing. I was wrong. You were scared, I said. You wanted me to have security. I understand that now. But you found security anyway. Just differently than we expected. That night we had dinner. Me, my parents, Jennifer, Amanda. The first time we'd all been together in 12 years. It was awkward. There were silences, moments of tension. But there was also laughter. Stories. Amanda telling embarrassing college freshman stories that made everyone smile. At one point Amanda leaned over to me. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For being you. For showing me it's okay to be different. I squeezed her hand. Later, walking back to my apartment, my phone rang. Unknown number. Dr. Chin? This is Sarah Martinez. I'm a high school senior in Arizona. My counselor gave me your email, but I wanted to call. Hey. What can I help you with? I read your book. Against the Grain. My counselor gave it to me because I'm thinking about dropping out of my dual enrollment program. Everyone says I'm making a mistake. I smiled, remembering another phone call, another student 12 years ago. Tell me about it, I said. We talked for 45 minutes. About her situation, her goals, her fears. So what do I do? She finally asked. I can't tell you what to do, I said. But I can tell you this. The traditional path works for a lot of people. But it's not the only path. If you have a clear vision and you're willing to work hard, there are other ways to succeed. Did you regret it? Dropping out. I thought about that. About the tiny Brooklyn apartment. The ramen noodles. The family rejection. The years of struggle. Not for a second, I said. After we hung up, I sat on my couch thinking about that Thanksgiving dinner 12 years ago. About walking out into the cold Chicago night, terrified and alone. About being called a failure by the people who were supposed to love me. About building a life anyway. My phone buzzed. A text from Amanda. Thanks for dinner. Love you, Aunt Rachel, Red Heart. I stared at those words. Love you. When was the last time a family member had said that to me? I typed back. Love you too, kiddo. The next morning I was back in my office reading applications. Another year, another 50,000 plus students hoping for one of our 1,550 spots. I read each application carefully. Looking for the straight A students, yes. But also looking for the unconventional ones. The ones who'd struggled. The ones who'd taken different paths. The ones who reminded me of myself. Because the truth was, I understood them in a way most admissions officers couldn't. I knew what it felt like to be told you were doing everything wrong. I knew what it took to prove everyone wrong. And I knew that sometimes the students who looked like failures on paper were actually the ones who'd changed the world. I picked up one application. A student who'd started at community college, transferred twice, had a 3.4 GPA but exceptional letters of recommendation and a powerful essay about overcoming homelessness. Most admissions committees would reject this student immediately. The GPA was too low. The path was too unconventional. But I saw something else. I saw resilience. Determination. Someone who'd succeeded despite impossible odds. I picked up my red pen and wrote at the top of the application, strong admit. Committee review recommended. That student would probably get in. Not because of their grades, but because I knew something most people didn't. Success isn't about following the right path. It's about having the courage to walk your own path, even when everyone tells you you're wrong. Even when your own family calls you a failure. Especially then. I thought about Amanda's essay. About the line that had made me cry. My family overcame nothing. They simply failed to see that Rachel was succeeding in ways they couldn't understand. For 12 years I'd thought my family's rejection had broken something in me. But maybe it had actually freed me. Freed me to build the life I wanted, not the life they expected. Freed me to define success on my own terms. Freed me to become the person who could help other students do the same. The college dropout who became a dean. The family failure who changed lives. I smiled and reached for the next application.